Hey there, Discover Family Church. Pastor Johnny here. I hope you guys are doing really well this morning. I'm excited that you guys are here with me today and excited to talk a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. Um, I was this past Sunday morning, I did uh, Easter sunrise streaming service. A lot of you guys were there and watched it or watched it later, and it was awesome. But one of the things that happened is getting all of it ready to go was there's a lot of steps to getting all the video equipment and everything ready to go to be able to do it live the way I did it, and by the time I was able to get it all ready and set and ready to go, it was already very early in the morning, Sunday morning, and I basically decided to stay up all night because I know me, and I know I would not have woken up, and everybody would have been like, "Why isn't Pastor Johnny streaming live like you said?" And I would have been because I was sleeping. Um, and so Sunday morning, Easter Sunday morning, I knew I was going to be talking through and reading from Matthew for Easter. And so I decided Sunday morning. It was early in the morning. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just decided to spend the next 3 hours or so just praying and spending some time with God. And I put some worship music on, and I opened my Bible and just said, you know what, I want to read Matthew today. I want to read the book of Matthew, and that's what I did. I just sat down and read the book of Matthew. But one of the things that struck me was really awesome, and I'm not going to read you a lot of it because it's rather boring. And it's the beginning of Matthew, when it was he was very much starting this. Matthew, who he used to be a tax collector before Jesus grabbed a hold of him, and Matthew begins his book with telling of the genealogy of Jesus, and he gives multiple generations. So he goes, the book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac was the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, and Judah the father of Perez, and Zerah by Tamar, and Perez the father of Hezron, and Hezron the father of Ram. It just goes on and on. He begins this gospel with the genealogy of Jesus, and it really reflects the Old Testament genealogies we've all heard and seen before. He echoes that, and really what we see here is that Matthew really thought of his work, the gospel, not being a new story, but being a continuation of the Old Testament, a continuation of the story of God's gracious redemption for people that have fallen away. It's not a new story. It is, the next step to the story, as it were. His genealogy begins and ends with three incredible names. He talks about it right at the very beginning. It begins with Abraham, David, and Jesus, and interspersed all through the names of and I encourage you to read it just to check it out. But all through there are the names of these great patriarchs of Christianity, of our belief system, and he walks you through the progression from Abraham all the way to Jesus, and it really is a reminder of something. It reminds me, and I made a post about it on Sunday morning, really early in the morning. You can go back and look at it, but this is why I'm talking about today. Is it reminds me of God's acceptance of the sinful and the marginalized, the people that are broken, that are sinful, that are marginalized. When you read through the progression, you will actually see within that group 5 women appear in this genealogy. A woman named Tamar, there's a woman named Rahab, and these are all people that you will see in the Old Testament. There's another woman named Ruth, and then he mentions how Solomon is in Jesus' bloodline, and that Solomon came from was from the son of David, but it says specifically the son of David. Where does it say it? It says and David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah. If you don't know, the wife of Uriah was Bathsheba. Bathsheba was the woman that David he murdered Uriah, her husband, so that he could have Bathsheba. And then the last woman that he mentions is Mary. All five of them faced really big social difficulties all through their life, but all five of them God treated mercifully, and he used them to carry forward his purpose of saving his people. If you look back, Tamar, Rahab, Bathsheba, they were all three of them were involved in some sort of sexual sin. And it's a point that Matthew, he especially emphasizes when he emphasizes Bathsheba. And he calls her the wife of Uriah. He doesn't say Solomon, the son of David. He says Solomon, the son of David, by way of the wife of Uriah. Like he makes a point to point out that there was brokenness in the genealogy of Jesus. He points it out in the Bible, like that there is sin in this line. And when you read that, it just recalls that whole sordid story of adultery, of murder, and the relationship that was so messed up. Ruth, another one we mentioned there, she was just a desperately poor immigrant. She was a field worker. She was lower than low in the world, yet she's plays such a massive role in our Bible. And then we see obviously Mary, the mother of Jesus. She was innocent of doing anything wrong, but she was mistreated as being unfaithful and basically a bad woman in her day because of having a baby before she was married. Before she was married, she got pregnant, and despite all these lives that were made difficult by poverty and by sin, whether it was their own sin or whether it was others, God aided these women throughout the first part of the Matthew, and he gave them not just healing and restoration and mercy, but he gave them an important part of his plan that God specifically wanted to use these women that had walked through hardship and broken times to bring forth his own son. It reminds me that the power of God for salvation, it says in Romans that it comes to everyone who believes. In another part of Romans, it says that God shows no partiality. Like he's not partial to one person or another. Another part of Romans says God justifies the ungodly, that he uses for his saving purpose the broken. He uses the powerful institutions of the world. The unbelieving world is basically oppressed or marginalized or said you're wrong or you're evil. That's who he wants to use. Not just who he has to use, it's who he wants to. It's God. He could have picked anybody, but he picked Jesus to flow through these bloodlines of brokenness and sin. The way in which God helps each and every person, every needy person, I believe is most often through the generosity of those among us, among other Christians, who themselves have experienced grace. And because we've experienced grace, we have the resources to help those that have been in need. So today, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to don't be so quick to judge and look bad at somebody. Don't be quick to pass somebody off as just being rude or mean. Don't be so quick to just assume that they're not worth it. Your goal today is to remember that God chose to use marginalized, broken, and sinful people to bring Jesus to this planet so that you could have that grace that you have. And remember that grace that you have when you're dealing with other people. And remember that God wants to use you to help get them through that place they're at. Because here's the deal. You've been there. Use the bad things that have happened in your past to change the lives of others. Make a difference in the world. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys this Sunday. Just a reminder, we are moving our kids service to Sunday morning instead of Sunday evening. It'll be online so you can watch it with your kids anytime, but just letting you know that's happening. Love you guys. Have a great day. Talk to you later.